A tactical shooter isn't just a game, it's a test of strategy, precision, and patience. Unlike traditional first-person shooters that focus on reflexes and speed, tactical shooters demand a different skill set. They emphasize careful planning, realistic mechanics, and the critical importance of every decision. Whether leading a team through a high-stakes hostage rescue or engaging in a methodical firefight, these games are defined by their commitment to realism. Weapons behave just as they would in real life, and even your character's stamina can mean the difference between success and failure. In this genre, a single mistake can be fatal, making every choice matter. Tactical shooters often blend military simulation elements where players must manage not just combat, but also logistics, injuries, and resource allocation. The genre's dedication to authenticity sets it apart, creating a unique experience that attracts a passionate player base. The tactical shooter genre finds its roots in the late 1980s, when video games began experimenting with combining action and strategy. One of the earliest examples, Airborne Ranger 1987 by Microprose, was a pioneer emphasizing planning, stealth, and inventory management. This game introduced mechanics like limited inventories and careful planning, staples of the genre today. Hostages 1988 by Infogrames gave players control of French GIGN operatives on a mission to rescue hostages. The game unfolded in 3 distinct phases, reaching sniper vantage points, providing cover for the entry team, and finally navigating the building to rescue hostages and neutralizing threats. This was an early example of scenarios that would become common in later tactical shooters. Special Forces 1992, also by Microprose, introduced squad mechanics. Players had to plan missions meticulously, as they didn't control operatives directly, but gave them orders instead. The game's dynamic weather system added further tactical depth. The mid-1990s marked a pivotal era in the evolution of tactical shooters. SEAL Team 1993 by Electronic Arts introduced features like land insertions from boats and dynamic real-time environment. However, the genre truly came into its own in 1998 with the release of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six and Delta Force. Rainbow Six was revolutionary, blending strategy, realism, and squad-based gameplay like never seen before. It set a new standard for becoming the blueprint for future tactical shooters. Realism was paramount. Characters were vulnerable to a single bullet, forcing players to prioritize strategic planning over brute force. Before each mission, players engaged in a detailed planning stage, organizing operatives and mapping out precise team orders, AI pathing, and rules of engagement. The consequences of in-game actions were real. Injured operatives required recovery time, and deceased operatives were lost forever. This level of realism was a final blueprint for what tactical shooters are today. The late 1990s to mid-2000s is often referred to as the golden age of tactical shooters. During this period, the genre reached new heights with titles that expanded the foundations laid by Rainbow Six and Delta Force. SWAT 3, released in 1999, is remembered as a pioneer of the tactical shooter genre, standing alongside influential titles like Rainbow Six and Operation Flashpoint. Its emphasis on realism, strategy, and teamwork helped shape the direction of tactical shooters for years to come. Operation Flashpoint was groundbreaking in its scope and realism. Players engaged in large-scale battles requiring careful planning and execution. The game's depth and authenticity set it apart from its contemporaries, making it a landmark title in the history of tactical shooters. This game would later give birth to the Arma series, considered the holy grail of tactical military simulators. Alongside Operation Flashpoint and SWAT 3, games like 2001's Tom Clancy Ghost Recon further evolved the genre. Ghost Recon introduced new elements, such as open-ended mission design and squad-based tactics, cementing its place in gaming history. It remains a defining tactical shooter of the early 2000s. The early 2000s were packed with legendary tactical shooters. Delta Force Black Hawk Down 2003, Rainbow Six Raven Shield 2003, SOCOM 2 2003, SWAT 4 2005, Rainbow Six Vegas 2006, and Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2006, just to name a few. This era was truly the golden age of tactical shooters. Meanwhile, Counter-Strike emerged as a cultural phenomenon. Starting as a mod for Half-Life, it quickly became one of the most popular multiplayer games in the world, blending fast-paced action with tactical depth. This was the start of the decline. As the 2000s came to a close, the dominance of tactical shooters began to wane. The gaming industry shifted its focus towards faster, more cinematic experiences, driven by franchises like Call of Duty and Battlefield. These games prioritized high-octane action and spectacle over the methodical strategic gameplay that had defined the tactical shooter genre. Even the stalwarts of the genre, such as Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon, began to evolve. Titles like Rainbow Six Vegas and Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter blended tactical elements with a more accessible, action-orientated approach. While commercially successful, they marked a departure from the hardcore realism that originally defined the genre, leaving some longtime fans feeling alienated. The mid to late 2000s saw a significant shift in the FPS genre. The decline of tactical shooters coincided with the rise of fast-paced, online player versus player PvP games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Counter-Strike. The industry focus was now on delivering quick, adrenaline-pumping experiences, moving further away from the slower, strategic gameplay that once reigned supreme. Several factors contributed to this decline of the subgenre. The shift in player preferences. Gamers began favouring more fast-paced gameplay over the slower tactical shooters. The rise of console also played a role, as console control schemes and gaming culture were more suited to quicker, more action-orientated FPS games. Market saturation and innovation stagnation. The tactical shooter genre became somewhat stagnant. The formula that had made games like Rainbow Six successful started to feel repetitive, with few new ideas introduced to keep the genre fresh. The rise of casual and accessible games. The success of more accessible FPS games that catered to a broader audience contributed to the decline of a niche genre. Developers focused on creating games with a lower barrier to entry and simplifying gameplay mechanics. Online PvP games began to dominate the FPS genre. Key factors contributing to their rise included accessibility and instant gratification. Unlike tactical shooters, which required careful planning, online PvP games offered fast-paced action and quick rewards, appealing to a broader audience including casual gamers. Advancements in online gaming. The mid-2000s saw a significant improvement in internet connectivity and online gaming infrastructure, allowing developers to create large-scale multiplayer experiences. Esports and the competitive scene. Counter-Strike was an early pioneer in esports, demonstrating the potential of competitive PvP games. As esports grew in popularity, more players were drawn to games that offered a competitive edge. Cinematic and immersive experiences. Games like Call of Duty pushed the envelope in cinematic storytelling and immersive experiences, setting new standards for the FPS genre with titles like Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The shift towards online PvP games led to the decline in tactical shooter development. Studios that once focused on tactical gameplay either transitioned to more mainstream FPS titles or struggled to survive. However, this period also set the stage for a future resurgence of the tactical shooter genre, as nostalgia and the desire for more strategic gameplay would eventually lead to the revival of these games in the late 2010s. In the mid-2010s, the tactical shooter genre experienced a significant revival, a renewed interest in realism, driven largely by indie developers who sought to recapture the essence of what made tactical shooters great in the first place. One of the most notable titles during the revival was Squad 2015, developed by Offworld Industries. Squad combined large-scale military simulations with squad-based tactics, emphasizing communication and teamwork. Its success demonstrated a growing appetite for more strategic, realistic gameplay experiences. Another standout title was Escape from Tarkov, which introduced hardcore survival mechanics, blending tactical shooting with RPG elements. The game's unforgiving nature and emphasis on resource management struck a chord with players looking for a more intense immersive experience. This period also saw the rise of titles like Insurgency 2014 and its sequel, Insurgency Sandstorm 2018. These games developed by New World Interactive focused on close-quarter combat with high level of realism. The minimal HUD, realistic ballistics, and emphasis on teamwork made Insurgency a favourite among those seeking a more grounded experience in modern warfare. Insurgency Sandstorm built upon the foundation with improved graphics, more expansive environments, and refined mechanics, cementing the series' place in the tactical shooter revival. Smaller studios also made their mark, with games like Ready or Not 2021 and 0 Hour 2020, spiritual successors to the SWAT series, focusing on close quarter combat and tactical planning. These games embrace the core principles of the genre: methodical gameplay, realistic weapon mechanics, and high stakes, winning over both longtime fans and new players alike. Meanwhile, Ground Branch 2018, developed by former Tom Clancy Ghost Recon developers, offered a more deliberate and customizable tactical experience, harking back to the classical tactical shooters of the early 2000s. Ground Branch emphasised player agency with a focus on planning and execution, making it a standout in the genre's revival. Even larger franchises sought to adapt, with titles like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands 2017, developed by Ubisoft, attempted to blend open-world exploration with tactical shooter mechanics. While it leaned more toward arcadey action-adventure, Wildlands still retained elements of tactical planning, particularly in co-op gameplay, showing the genre's influence on mainstream titles. These games, along with the continued popularity of titles like Arma 3 2013, signaled a resurgence of the tactical shooter genre. Players were once again drawn to the challenge and depth that these games offered, and developers responded with innovative takes on the classic formula. Looking ahead, the future of tactical shooters seems promising. With the success of these recent titles, it's clear that there's a dedicated audience for games that prioritize strategy, realism, and teamwork. As developers continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in this genre, we can expect to see even more exciting and challenging experiences on the horizon. Tactical shooters have left an indelible mark on the gaming industry. From their early roots in the 1980s to the golden age of the late 90s and the resurgence in recent years, these games have consistently challenged players to think strategically, act carefully, and work as a team. They offer a unique blend of realism and strategy that continues to captivate a dedicated community of players. While the genre has evolved and faced challenges over the years, its core principles remained intact. Tactical shooters remind us that in a world of fast-paced, high-octane games, there's still a place for thoughtful, deliberate gameplay, where every decision matters. As we look to the future of tactical shooters genre, it's poised to continue its legacy, inspiring a new generation of gamers to embrace the art of strategy and teamwork. My name's Swish. Thanks for watching.